This is my story. I have to go plan it.
Everyone loves a good plan, but what happens when you realize something in the plan doesn't work? Well, that process for the writer looks something like this. Author has story idea. Author plans and plots story. Author likes story, plan, and plot. Author starts to write story. Somewhere along line, author realizes story, plan, and plot has issues. Now once this happens, hopefully the author will improve the plan by addressing the issues. And that sounds pretty simple, right? Actually, not so much. And the reason why is because the author has to actually be able to spot that something's wrong in their story. And on top of that, they have to be able to spot exactly what's wrong in their story so they can fix it accordingly. And to fix something in the best possible way requires a lot of skill and grit. Trust me, that ain't fun. Especially when you've written a 5,000 word chapter or planned a whole series season and realize your hard work is on the verge of getting tossed. Ouch. But the truth is the truth, even if you're in denial. So what you need to do as an author is learn when and how to break the plan. And to do this, you need to be able to spot that something is wrong with the plan. And this is where many authors struggle a bit, because sensing something may be off in your story is one thing. Being able to spot exactly what is wrong so you can fix it appropriately is another. And that's where this video comes in. Because what I'm going to do is compare two of the greatest series I've ever seen on television, along with some other cinema, to show you how to spot when you need to break the plan. So buckle up and strap yourselves in, because we're about to dive into story to figure out why the author needs to learn to break the plan. Now to get started, we have to bring our two very amazing series to the table. And those two series are Smallville and Merlin. To those of you who aren't aware, Smallville inspired Merlin, which is why the similarities and parallels are so obviously apparent. Now both of these series were well loved by fans and showed just how much potential origin stories could have for beloved characters. Smallville had a young Clark Kent who hadn't yet become Superman. Merlin had a young Merlin who had only just begun to learn about his destiny. Obvious similarities are that both characters had a secret to protect, both characters were destined for greatness, both had to deal with the betrayal of former friends, and so on. Yet the similarities aren't the focus of this video. In this video, I want to talk about one specific difference, and one that carries much more weight than one would think. And that difference is how the individual series handled Clark and Merlin's secret. Smallville. As a brief overview, Clark is an alien with a wide array of superpowers. Throughout the series, he tries to conceal this fact from anyone who isn't his mom and dad. But keeping a secret so monumentally great isn't so easy, especially when said secret constantly puts you in situations where you have to put yourself at risk by using said abilities. Now this truth was touched on more directly in Man of Steel, but Smallville had many moments where this weakness was directly alluded to. Examples: Chloe finding out Clark's secret because he had to save his girlfriend Alicia, which was a setup by the way. Lana finding out Clark's secret because Chloe was trapped in a wine cellar, which was also a setup by the way. Lois finding out Clark's secret because she literally had to save him from dying after he'd saved the world from the Kandorians. And the list goes on. Now all that being said, I want you to take note of something. In Smallville we see a natural progression. As the series goes on, major characters find out about Clark's secret in slow and steady intervals. First Pete in Season 2, then Chloe in Season 4, then Lionel in Season 5, then Oliver Queen and Lana Lang in Season 6, Lex in Season 7, Davis Bloom, Tess, and Jimmy in Season 8, Lois in Season 9, and so on. And the benefit of this natural progression is that it avoids so many writing pitfalls in one fell swoop. Now what those pitfalls are we can discuss later, but for now, let's switch to Merlin to complete the contrast. Merlin. Now as it relates to Merlin's secret, let's see who found out and when. And this will exclude those who already knew, like Hunith, Merlin's mother, and Kilgara, who already knew about Merlin somehow because he knew about Merlin's fate before he even came to Camelot. This will also exclude those who immediately found out at the start, like Gaius. These figures would obviously be the Martha Kent and Jonathan Kent-like figures in Merlin's story. They know from the start, they do not count. Let's also eliminate characters like Lancelot, who are almost never on the series, and also those whose discovery was meaningless in the grand scheme of things. So characters like Balinor, Gilly, Alator, and the Goblin are excluded. They may be mentioned later in the video though, so just keep them in mind. Now with these restrictions in place, we can have a better baseline to analyze how this series handled Merlin's secret against how Smallville handled Clark's secret. So first off, we have Nimue in Season 1. And is this a nice reveal? I would say yes. Much earlier than anything in Smallville actually. But Merlin is allowed to be its own show. She was the Season 1 villain, fairly major character. Not bad, Merlin. Not bad at all. We also learned of Mordred in this season, who will become a major player down the line. Kind of meaningless in Season 1, but pretty good for Season 5. Now moving on. Season 2. No major characters discover Merlin's secret. Okay, I guess that's fine. With this being a 5-season series, I would have liked a reveal here, maybe near the end, but that's more personal preference, so let's move on. Now how about Season 3? No major characters discover Merlin's secret? Season 4? No major characters discover Merlin's secret? Oh wait, there was one major character here. Agravain. Unfortunately, the moment he learned about Merlin's secret, yeah, he died. And I'll go over later why this is such a problem, but for now, Season 5. Now, in Season 5, a lot of people we wanted to find out about Merlin's secret actually did, Arthur and Gwen being the two major players here. Yet I want to make the case that they don't count either, and I'll go over why this is the case for them as well. So that being said, we've put it all out on the floor. Now comes the next step, analyzing the way Merlin handled Merlin's secret against how Smallville handled Clark's secret to see why Merlin needed to break the plan. Take note, authors, because here's when you need to break the plan. Reason number 1. Realism is being affected. To put it simply, you need to ask yourself, what is the probability of what I'm writing happening in my story actually happening in real life? If you don't do this, you run the risk of writing something that feels fabricated. Like a magician running around saving an entire kingdom using magic for years and no one ever discovering his secret. When things like this happen, you run the risk of your reader or watcher actually having the thought while they're viewing your work that someone is writing the story. This is not good. This is actually very bad. Unless you are writing something like a crack or parody work, you do not want this. And this usually intensifies because you, the author, are trying to convince the reader that whatever unrealistic scenario is playing out before their eyes is actually possible. The problem is that we, the viewers, know it's not. And if you're honest as a writer, you know it's not too. And this leads me to one of the greatest points I'll make in this video. And that point is that in writing, you always want to keep what I call your author's hand out of the story.
It helps maintain the illusion.
So expanding on this a bit, it isn't realistic that every time Merlin has to use magic, important characters are knocked out cold. Or that those who do find out about his magic are those who pop up in the series on rare occasions or pop up once and vanish. And it most certainly isn't realistic that every time someone dangerous finds out about Merlin's secret, they die. At this point, the watcher is shaking their head and laughing at the absurdity of what is happening. And this is all because the lack of realism has made it so that the author's hand is reaching so far into the story that it is painfully obvious. So someone in charge should have spotted the unrealistic element of all this and broke the plan. And to briefly continue our comparison, contrast this to Smallville, where Lionel Luthor found out Clark's secret in Season 5. And not only did he live to tell about it, he used it to force Lana into marrying Lex. Whoa. Now imagine if someone who was an enemy within Camelot, like Morgana, found out about Merlin's secret. What massive storylines could that create? Could have been really interesting.
I give you my word, Miss Lang. If you don't honor the promise that you've made to my son, or I find out you've told anyone about this conversation, I will kill Clark Kent.
Reason number 2. The audience is not getting what they want. This reason is probably the most important reason on the list. Not only because your audience is who you're trying to keep and entertain, but also because when you fail to give the audience what they want, they get annoyed. And the last thing you want to do is annoy your audience. Yet when you refuse to give them what they want, annoying them becomes inevitable. It's like telling a toddler they can have a cookie on top of the fridge and then never grabbing cookie for said toddler. Toddler gets annoyed. And this annoying only grows because when you know your audience wants something, and you don't want to give it to them for whatever reason, you try to make it seem like they are or were very close to getting it. And however good your intentions may be, the truth is that you become a troll. And nobody likes trolls. Seeing this same pattern happening over and over again is annoying for the audience. And when a pattern like this persists, the story starts to feel fabricated, which once again ties us back into reason number 1. And to push the incredibly annoying effect of being trolled home, I want to say that I can remember my personal reaction watching the Arthur and Uther scene I mentioned before, and I believe it mirrors the reaction of many of those who watch the series. So there I am, sitting in the living room, enjoying another fun adventure in Camelot. And then I realized that Arthur may actually be about to find out Merlin's secret, because Uther now knows. But then,
I won't let you get away with this!
I'm pretty sure at this point that I rolled in my chair. And this scene was so monumentally annoying to me, not only because I had been trolled again, but also because I was once again on the verge of getting what I wanted, but had it violently snatched away. Now eventually, with the passage of time and with the series having concluded, I learned to laugh about it, even joking about the scene with those who also watched the show. I mean, even to this day, we'll turn to each other and say, but all jokes aside, let's think about how this constant trolling affects the viewer who wants to see Arthur learn Merlin's secret. This, my friends, is infuriating, especially as the series progresses and the audience realizes that Arthur was never going to learn Merlin's secret until the very last episode of the series. Also, as it relates to giving the audience what they want, we, the audience, wanted to see more than Arthur just finding out about Merlin's secret. We also wanted to see adventures with Arthur aware of Merlin's secret. We wanted to see Arthur and Merlin at their absolute best. We wanted to see Arthur the King and Mighty Warrior ruling with Merlin the Magician at his side. These were things we wanted and did not get. Now contrast this to how much time we got to see important characters working with Clark while knowing his secret in Smallville, which was also what we wanted in that series. The lineup is staggering, but to put it simply, most characters worked entire seasons with Clark while knowing his secret. Chloe, Lana, Oliver, Lionel, and so on. And even with Lois being the last person to know, we got an entire season of her and Clark being absolutely amazing together. And it also didn't hurt that they'd been working together before she knew his secret in the time when she was working with him as the Blur. Now contrast this to Merlin, where we only get Arthur learning Merlin's secret
before he dies.
Someone should have seen that this was not acceptable. Someone should have seen that this would not give the audience what they wanted. Someone should have broken the plan. As a side note, there is a type of annoyance to the reader or watcher that is good to the story. A character like Agravain, for example, is great for the story and does annoy the viewer, but he annoys them within the story as an annoying character. His annoyance factor is good for many reasons, one of the greatest being that we are able to suffer with Merlin and Gaius in terms of feeling how annoying Agravain is to work around, especially when Arthur trusts him more than just about anybody. With Agravain, our annoyance stems from his relationship to the story and how his actions tip the scales in unfair ways. With Merlin's secret, our annoyance stems from not only the story, but also from the author's hand, because how drawn out Merlin's secret is makes it obvious that the author's hand is at work. Also, Agravain was discovered to be a traitor fairly quickly, which we wanted. Merlin's secret, on the other hand, was drawn out for far too long and did not truly give us what we wanted. Characters can also be annoying in a good way by providing comic relief and growing on you over time. Examples include characters like Might Guy and Rock Lee from Naruto, and Incrediboy from The Incredibles. These are quote-unquote annoying characters, but they're funny annoying, and we enjoy watching them. Also note that with good annoying characters, there are usually characters within the show suffering just as much as we are.
Incrediboy!
You're not affiliated with me!
Now this reason is really a short sub-reason within what I just talked about. Or to put it simply, this can be called reason 2B. And I say this because what I'm talking about is an amplifying of reason 2, and reason 2 taken to the max. And this is when the author is somehow not only not giving the audience what they want, they are somehow actually giving the audience what they hate. This is much worse. Examples of this include The Amazing Spider-Man 2, when we were promised Rhino in trailers, but upon seeing the movie only got him at the very end, without him actually being in the movie much as advertised. This I would call a smaller example of giving the audience what they hate. A different and slightly more annoying example of this is the DCEU Batman, which The Closer Look made an entire 1.5 hour video on, showing why he doesn't work. Yeah, The Closer Look doesn't like him, and most of us don't like him either, because he breaks the rules of being the Batman. Now to bring it back to our series and to something I've already mentioned, Merlin did this through its constant trolling of people nearly finding out Merlin's secret, or letting them find out only to die right after. Even Arthur was not immune to this. So yeah, stay away from doing this. As you can see, it doesn't usually have the best results. Out of all the examples I listed, only Merlin found success, and most people agree that how Merlin's secret was handled was a serious problem. Now there are two more reasons that I wanted to cover as it relates to this topic, but I noticed the video was running a little long. As a result, I decided to split it up and make it a two-parter. Part 2 should be coming out within a week if all goes according to plan, so look forward to that. Hopefully it'll be informative and helpful to all you awesome writers out there. Be sure to like if you liked what you saw. It really helps me out because I can actually see the interest that way. And don't be a stranger about commenting either. Also be sure to subscribe if you want me to put out more of this content, and consider sharing with anyone you think would be interested. If I see people are actually interested in what I'm saying, then I'll be more inclined to say more. That being said, peace, and keep writing awesome.
Do it!
That's not funny.